My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 84 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But before I do, we still have 2 weeks to give away this $1,000. We are closer than ever. The two conditions were get 20,000 subscribers on We Want Picks, which we did last night. Thank you very much sincerely to every single one of you. And then get 10,000 subscribers on our Picks Nation YouTube channel. We're right there. The only thing you need to do to enter this free giveaway is subscribe to 2 channels and leave a comment on the giveaway video. It is that simple. And as long as we hit 10,000 subscribers on Picks Nation, we will give away that money. If you're a day walker, not enjoying the premium membership, I'll give you $500. If you are a premium member, I will double it. And if you are a premium member, you did well last night because I did well. If you were a premium member and you went to the Angelo page under analyst, you crushed because I crushed. And you may say, Angelo, why the hell are you wearing that Christmas shirt? And I would say to you, I am the ghost of Christmas future, and I am here to deliver units. And that is not true. I'm a bit hungover. I was up till very late, drinking, hanging out, watching these fights. I didn't feel like... This is the clothes I wore last night. Anyway, I crushed UFC 296. I'm up units. I hit a bunch of underdogs. I went 8-4 in picks. I went 4-1 in bets. The only bet I lost was on Bryce Mitchell. That guy sucks. Prize Picks hit, and I gave you 3 different safety parlays. My original safety parlay was Shavkat and the over 1.5 rounds on the Randy Brown fight. That fight dropped, so then you were just stuck with the Shavkat money line. I said, I can't let that happen. I gave you a new safety parlay. I gave you Shavkat and Paddy. That was minus 196. I said, those odds are not good enough. So then I gave you a third safety parlay. I gave you Shavkat, Paddy, and the over 1.5 on Alonzo Menafield and Dustin Jacoby, and that hit. All 3 of those hit. The safety parlay continues to be a wild success. I am very, very proud of that freaking parlay. This is the most volatile betting in history. Betting on fights is not an easy thing to do, and I hit at over a 70% win rate with the safety parlay alone. The safety parlay alone averages almost 2 units of net profit every single month. I'm 4-1 in the last 5. I'm 6-1 in the last 7 as far as the individual parlays are concerned. Safety parlay is a wild success. Become a premium member. It's only $10 a month. And before I hear some crap about the break, I had a couple of people send me an email. I'm going to sign up after the break. What break? What break? I'm here, baby. Also, you don't have a full month. I don't know why there's this misconception that there's a full month. There's not. It's 3 weeks till the next event. Not a full month. Somebody said 5 weeks. That person's way off. 3 weeks till the next event. I am breaking that event right now. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It is only $10 a month and already available. Not only are my picks, my bets, my insight, you're also going to get tools. The line movement tracker is up and ready to go. Phil Hawes flipped from a plus 150 underdog to a minus 130 favorite. 6 other fighters have had 20% line movement or more. Monitoring this movement over the next 3 weeks will be very, very important so you can unlock this. You will also get the detailed data, metrics, and analytics for UFC Vegas 84. That will be available most likely tomorrow night. So you can use the data, find your spots. Bets are available right now with Bet Online. Some other books are probably going to slowly drop these things. And if you're paying for somebody else's premium, you paid for some guy's random Patreon, and they don't have UFC Vegas 84 picks, bets, insight, and tools available right now for you, what are you paying for? What are you paying? Imagine paying for a Netflix subscription, and then Netflix just takes a 3-week break and there's no content. That's insane. That is not We Want Picks. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top and enjoy everything you need for UFC Vegas 84 right now. Don't forget to follow the socials. This is free. Premium's not. It's only $10. This is free, and we genuinely appreciate it. We hit 20,000 subscribers last night. That is not lost on me. We had fewer than 10,000 in January to start this year, and we are going to close over 20,000. We more than doubled. I appreciate that. That's from every single one of you, and I have never been more genuine about anything in my life. Thank you so much. Everything that you guys do for us is absolutely incredible. Here's all of the socials if you want to follow some of the others. The Discord is 100% free. Premium members get access to specific channels and specific features, but the general chat and things like that is free. All the links to do all of this are below. And if you want to send us mail, we will open mail in the vlogs, I'm probably going to film another vlog before the break is over. We're probably going to open some mail in the call-in shows. If you want to send some mail, here is the address to do that. And let's break down this card. UFC Vegas 84, this is on January 13th. If you are watching this on January 12th, I promise you there's an updated version of this video. But let's go ahead and break this down. Let's attack these early lines, and let's see if we can get ahead of some of that movement. Opening up the UFC Vegas 84 fight card, we have Westin Wilson taking on Gene Silva. I had no clue why I did that. He is not an American, let alone from below the Mason-Dixon line. But Gene Silva is a tremendous favorite on this card. He is -7 something right now. I don't know if that's going to explode or collapse in the next few weeks, but he is a wild favorite. He's a powerful striker. He's loose. He's creative. And the creativity is fun to watch, but it does get him into some weird positions at times. He's interesting, though, because he's going to go from a tight guard to just loose hands, and his hands will be down. He does alternate between those two pretty often, and I think it does keep people guessing. People are like, oh, here he comes with his tight kickboxing, and then his hands are down. He's doing some random stuff. He's a bit odd in that, but he does switch between those two really well. He lowers his level, and he will blast the body, and then he'll come right up top to hit the head. His takedown defense is solid, and his striking is absolutely killer. He's taking on Westin Wilson. That smile tells you everything you need to know. She's just a fun guy. Karate striker. Nice, gentle. He's got low hands, a lot of movement. He can be a bit hesitant. He can be hittable. I don't know how you could punch that smile, but he can be hittable. And when he hits a flow, though, he does like to rush forward. He'll throw heavy. He's very tall for this weight class. He uses that length well on the ground, not in the striking. Striking is absolutely terrible. But on the ground, he uses that really well. He'll wrap you up. He'll try to make something happen. He is coming off that short notice mauling by Joe Anderson Brito. I mentioned Gene Silva. Massive favorite. -725 right now. And most of that has absolutely nothing to do with Gene Silva's skills and everything to do with Westin Wilson's. This is similar to the Patty-Tony Ferguson breakdown. If you go watch my UFC 296 recap video, I basically say, yeah, Patty sucks. And that's an exaggeration. He doesn't suck, but he's not very good. The bet, the pick, everything for Patty was because Tony Ferguson was 196 years old. This is similar. Westin Wilson is not old, but Westin Wilson can't take a punch. Westin Wilson doesn't have great striking. Westin Wilson gets touched up. I think Gene Silva wins this fight. I think he wins 9 out of 10 times. But I'm not betting -725 on this guy. No way. Westin Wilson is still dangerous on the ground. If Gene Silva does that weird low hand stuff and this somehow ends up in a scramble, Westin Wilson could potentially win this fight. Gene Silva is not a proven enough entity to say, yeah, those odds are worth it. And almost nobody in this sport is worth those odds. So Gene Silva's the pick. He should blow through Westin Wilson. But my God, -725 is absolutely wild. Then we have Nikolas Motta taking on Tom Nolan. Tom Nolan's a long guy. He's a lean striker. His frame is almost identical to Corey Sandhagen. When I was breaking down tape, he has that same sort of like lurchy back. I'm not trying to be rude. Like his back curves and he like has that hunch and he moves around. Like it's very, very similar to how Corey Sandhagen fights and looks. His striking is much better than Corey Sandhagen's. It's next level. He's accurate. He's technical. He has no problem getting into a brawl despite how good he is technically. He's got a solid clinch as well. And when you break down tape, you're going to see him eat more than one overhand right. That's not great, but he just eats them. He does have a very solid chin. He just keeps moving forward with lots of pressure, lots of volume, tons of power. Takedown defense, not very good, though. He's taking on Nikolas Motta. This guy's a very good striker himself. He's explosive. He's athletic. He moves well with his speed and diversity. He has solid takedown defense at 82%, and that allows him to get loose with the striking. He does a very good job of being patient and then pouring it on when he sees his opportunity. He's coming off that early submission loss to Trey Ogden, which was then overturned because it was clear the referee made a mistake there. This is one of two fights on the card that I don't have odds for just yet. So I'm just going to imagine what those odds are going to be. Motta is a UFC vet. He has a handful of quality wins. But Nolan is definitely going to be the better striker here. He does have some grappling holes, but I don't think that matters. I like Nolan to win. Trey Ogden was completely outstriking Motta. And if Trey Ogden is outstriking Motta, Tom Nolan is going to do. He's 50 times the striker that Trey Ogden is. Nolan's going to be the pick. I don't know what these odds are going to be, but if we're somehow lucky enough and the Christmas powers of this shirt gets us underdog money on Tom Nolan, I'm going to be all over that. Even if he's minus 150, I will probably touch that. I think Tom Nolan wins this fight. I think he's just going to be the much, much better striker. And based off of Nikolas Motta's last performance, things are not going to go well for him. So Tom Nolan, the very confident pick. Then we have another workhorse that I have ridden to the glory land more than one time. Farid Basharat, I think he's been in a few safety parlays. If he hasn't, he certainly has won me some money in some regular bets. And he's taken on Taylor Lapilus. Farid Basharat is the brother of Javid Basharat. Same last name, both very good fighters. Farid's a well-rounded wrestler. He's got solid striking, a loose stance. He's going to bounce on his toes. He'll throw a lot of kicks. He's very mobile, and he's constantly working from side to side. He has that wide taekwondo stance, and that helps him move well and stay defensively sound. He is a beast wrestler that will time his takedowns perfectly, and many times just use that takedown defense to keep it standing. He's coming off the submission win over Clayton Rodriguez, where he did use his wrestling very well. He's taking on Taylor Lapilus. This guy's a very good kickboxer. He's got incredible footwork. He does a very good job working in and out of range. He comes in for attacks, throws a combination, strikes his way out of the pocket. By the time his opponents throw their own strikes back, Taylor's usually gone. Taking Taylor down is definitely going to be the path to victory, but it's not the easiest thing to do. He does well defending actual takedowns instead of throwing meaningless strikes. Meaning, you'll watch some fighters. They're defending a takedown. They're doing this like stupid pitter-patter bullshit. That's never going to do anything. Taylor stuffs the head. He works his hips out. He works the hands. He actually defends the takedown. So taking him down is not the easiest thing to do. He's coming off that win over Colin Lachrin, where he was just way, way too patient. Yes, he won, but that dude is just too patient. This has to be a Farid play. Clayton just took down Taylor twice, and Farid is 10 times the wrestler that Clayton is. And I know I'm doing a lot of MMA math in this breakdown, but there are certain things where MMA math matters. MMA math doesn't matter if you're like A beat B and B beat C, so A can beat C. No. But MMA math does matter if you're like A out-wrestled B and A is not as good of a wrestler as C. Hopefully that made sense to you. And that's what my point is here. Farid Basharat should be able to out-wrestle. Taylor's far too patient. Farid's going to win both on the feet and in the grappling. He is a minus 170 favorite right now, and I think that line widens as this fight gets closer. Then we have Felipe Bunes taking on Dennis Bondar. Felipe Bunes was supposed to make his debut a little bit earlier this year against Zhalgas Zhumagulov, but that fight was scrapped last minute. He's now back on the docket. He's taking on Dennis Bondar. Felipe's a BJJ black belt. He's got slick submissions. He's always looking for something when he's on the ground. He's very fast in transitions and scrambles. Felipe isn't a BJJ nerd. He's looking for stuff. He's got the black belt, but he's not wiping his own ass on the floor, butt scooting his way. He's not pulling guard. He'll shoot takedowns. He'll engage on the feet. He'll do all the things you're supposed to do in an MMA fight. He loves throwing straight or overhand rights and then transitioning into the takedowns. If you take him down, you're going to need to prepare yourself to defend submission attempt after submission attempt. I mentioned he was supposed to fight earlier this year. This was scrapped. I forget why it was scrapped, if it was his issue or Zhalgas' issue. But either way, hopefully this fight sticks together. He's taking on Dennis Bondar. This guy's a wild striker. He charges forward. He wings punches in all directions, and then he will drop down to your legs, pick you up, old school Matt Hughes style, walk away, and slam you down. If you don't understand that reference because you're sort of newer to the sport, no problem. Go back, watch Matt Hughes versus Frank Trigg. Dude picks him up, runs across the cage, and slams him down in just old school MMA glory. Anyway, Bondar's takedowns, his slams are very impressive. On the ground, he has submissions, but they're pretty basic. Head and arm bars, just things like that. He works for positions and he moves really well on the ground, but he's not likely to catch you in a scramble with something slick. He's patient, he takes his time. He's coming off the loss to Carlos Hernandez, where he did have 2 takedowns, but he also gave up 2, and he was just way out-volumed in the striking. This is the second fight on the card, the only 2 fights on the card that we don't have odds for. I am actually very curious here who the favorite is going to be. On one hand, you have Dennis Bondar. He's dangerous, but essentially a regional can crusher. On the other, you have a BJJ guy with a handful of losses and no high-level experience of his own win or loss. I'm going to lean Dennis here. He should be the better striker. He's definitely the more dangerous guy. If he wants to wrestle, he can have some success and hopefully avoid the submissions that are getting thrown his way. I would prefer it, though, if Dennis kept this fight standing. Dennis is going to be the pick. Until we have odds, I have no idea if anything is worth happening here because this should be a very close fight, a very interesting fight. If somehow Dennis Bondar is a 2-1 dog, then I might make something happen there because I do think he can win this fight and get his first UFC win. Then we have a Bassil Hafez, fresh off that loss to JDM. And he is taking on Preston Parsons. Preston Parsons is a very slick grappler. He has 9 submissions in 10 wins. He's a BJJ black belt who moves forward aggressively, throwing big shots to set up takedowns. While he is a dangerous grappler, he can be a bit clueless when he can't get the grappling going. He's almost takedown or bust. He's coming off that loss to Trevin Giles where he did drop Trevin with a borderline lucky strike though, and then he gassed in the second round. He did showcase his toughness, but he just didn't have the skills to win that fight. The takedowns weren't working for him, and then there was absolutely nothing after that. There was not a backup plan. He's taking on Bassil Hafez. This guy's a heavy-handed grappler. His striking is loose. It's very powerful. And even though you're going to see check hook knockout highlights, he's not really a striker. He's a very tough grappler who's going to shoot blast doubles and look to maintain position while just raining down elbows. He's a high-paced guy both on the feet and on the ground. His cardio can fade a little bit, though, later in fights. He's coming off that short notice loss to Jack Della Maddalena where he did have 3 takedowns, but he was just completely outstruck. This is also another very interesting fight. This is a surprisingly good card. There's a lot of good matchup. There's a couple of fights that matter very much for the rankings and could potentially have title implications. This doesn't matter for the rankings, obviously, but this is a good fight that is very fun and might determine somebody's trajectory in the UFC. Right now, Bassil Hafez is the favorite. Early books had Preston as the favorite, and then it flipped to Bassil. A lot of that seems to be based off of Bassil's short notice loss to JDM. Yes, he looked incredible on short notice, but it was still a loss, and his striking was just not there. This, though, is a grappler versus grappler matchup, and if Bassil cannot defend the takedowns, he's going to be in trouble. I'm going to pick him. I don't want to pick him. I may go the other way. I am going to pick him, and the only reason is because he's a dog. We watched Preston Parsons sort of give up on himself in the Trevin Giles, just continue to try the same thing, change nothing, and lose that fight. Bassil will, no matter what you're doing to that guy, he's going to come forward and try to make something happen. He will strike. He will shoot takedowns. And if he's not as skilled as the other person, he'll lose the fight. In this fight, it's going to come down to his takedown defense. His takedown defense is not great. That's what worries me. If Bassil is a dog, comes forward, his cardio sticks around, he gets his own takedowns, he beats Preston Parsons. But if Preston gets his wrestling going and just lays on top, very good BJJ, then he's going to win. This is a super close fight. I personally am going to lean Bassil only because he's a dog and he's tough, but I don't trust him enough. I'm not going to have a bet. I just do not trust him enough to make something happen. When we eventually get prop bets, I might do Bassil Hafez inside the distance decision, no action. He's the more dangerous of the two. I think he could avoid being submitted. He is a BJJ black belt himself. But for now, we're just going to sit and chill and see what happens when those props drop. Then we have Marcus McGhee versus Gaston Bolanos. Marcus McGhee's another guy that I have bet through and through. He's another guy that has won me money and made things happen for us. So we appreciate him for that. He's a powerful guy. He's got heavy hands, good takedowns, one-punch knockouts all over his career. His takedown defense is solid. He's got slick submissions that he uses in scrambles, and he sets a pace. He carries his power later in the fights, and he's just very dangerous overall. He's coming off back-to-back stoppage wins in the UFC, most recently over JP Bays. He's taking on Gaston Bolanos. Look at this guy's face. Tell me he doesn't look like a Gaston Bolanos. That's exactly what you would assume a Gaston looked like. Look at him. He looks like a Disney prince. He's got a little bit of a smirk. Bolanos. Ethnic. Okay. Nice hair, tan. Anyway, Gaston Bolanos is a very solid striker. He's got good Muay Thai, a full-blown Muay Thai background. He's not just like a random guy that started MMA and let me learn some stuff. He had Muay Thai striking already, then converted to MMA. He's got good power, a willingness to engage. His claim to fame is Muay Thai world champion. And even in MMA fights, he's got a couple of spinning back elbow knockouts. He had them in kickboxing. He has some in MMA as well. He does have some grappling holes, though. Those can be exploited. You're going to need to get through his guard. You're going to have to work for some takedowns, but if you get there, you can exploit that. He's coming off a UFC debut win over Aaron Phillips, where he won the first round, was taken down a few times, and did show a few low fight IQ moments. Marcus is sitting somewhere around a 3-1 favorite right now. Pretty heavy favorite going into this fight, and I get it. He has power, he can wrestle, he's tough, but Gaston is a very good striker. He could absolutely catch Marcus on the way in, especially if Marcus, coming off a couple of stoppages, he thinks he's going to strike with this guy. Gaston's going to be the much better striker, at least technically speaking. Both of them have power. I still think Marcus wins this fight. He's going to be the pick. He's dangerous. He has a very clear path with wrestling. But I'll tell you right now, Gaston is not JP Bays. So hopefully Marcus does work in the wrestling, does come forward, stay in his face to eliminate some of that range, to eliminate a spinning back elbow, and then work to the hips. I don't know if I'm going to end up betting on Marcus McGhee, though, even though I have several other times, because I am worried about how good Gaston is in the striking, but we'll see what happens. If Marcus gets the wrestling going, I'm insanely confident as him, so I bet at some point I will cave and bet some money on Marcus McGhee. Then we have Yana Santos, formerly Yana Kunitskaya, taking on Norma Dumont. Yana Santos is a high-volume striker. She lands around 4 significant strikes per minute. She does not have a ton of power, but she has plenty of output and mixes things up well. She's got nice kicks. She uses them to maintain distance. She's got offensive wrestling, and we've seen her lean on that in the past, but it does come with a low 53% accuracy and an even lower 42% takedown defense. She's coming off a couple losses in a row, and she does seem to be on a downward slide. She's taking on Norma Dumont. Norma's a solid striker. She's relaxed and patient in the cage. Her striking is technical, and her takedown defense is sound. If you look at her strike differential, she lands about 4 significant strikes per minute. She is hit with fewer than 2. That is a very, very good striking differential, especially for some of these divisions. On top of her technical striking, she also has solid grappling. Her takedowns are not great, but she has 8 takedowns in the UFC. She's coming off a decision win. She likes to come forward. She likes to grind you against the cage. She likes to take you down, and she is big and strong enough to do that. It's going to be interesting. She's coming off that win over Chelsea. Remember, Chelsea was running across the cage? Chelsea Chandler running across the cage, like full sprinted away from Norma Dumont. She showed power in that fight. She rocked Chelsea. She had solid technique. She had high fight IQ. Norma Dumont wins this fight. Norma Dumont is the pick. She is a pretty big favorite, but I think she is worth that money. All the people saying, don't bet on women's MMA. No. What happened when I told you Ariana Lipski was going to win that fight? Huh? Anyway, I think Norma Dumont is just the much better fighter across the board. Yana Kunitskaya at one point had great striking, could have been something, but things seem to have shifted. Her last name changed. She married an American top team powerhouse striker, Thiago Santos, and that's why the last name is Santos and not Kunitskaya. She was a technical striker. She could have done all the things, and her career seemed to take a nosedive, and Norma Dumont is just going to absolutely bury that. I imagine Yana will be cut after this fight. I'm very, very confident in Norma Dumont to win here, and you're going to see her in a parlay or two. Then we have Andrei Arlovski taking on Waldo Cortes-Acosta. You hate to see the legends go out like this. You hate to see it. He's 44 years old on this sheet. He's 44, 11 months, and like 29 days. Like, this dude turns 45 almost immediately. To have the career he's had, to be a heavyweight, to still be fighting at 45 years old, and have us be like, he could potentially win, is crazy. It's crazy. Jim Miller's another one we're about to break down that has been here for 100 years. But anyway, Andrei Arlovski at 45 years old is an absolute legend. He's the former heavyweight champion of the world. And if you were watching UFC back then, as I was, this guy was terrifying. He was unbeatable in his prime. For sure a Hall of Famer. And he had the fang mouthpiece. Like, there was just something special about Andrei Arlovski in his prime. He's got very good boxing still. Pretty good kicks. He is firmly in the twilight of his career. He's been fighting for over 20 years. He brings all of that knowledge into the cage for every single fight. Obviously, being 45 years old, the big question is going to be, is his chin going to hold up? And the answer to that question is no. It hasn't, and it won't. That's just the problem. Everybody ages out of this sport, and unfortunately, you watch your legends go down. He's taking on Waldo Cortes-Acosta. This is definitely a changing of the spoiler, he's the pick. But he's a fun, athletic striker who is tough as nails. He's got real power. He does get flashy at times. He has decided to just dance in the middle of the fight. He lands an incredible 7 significant strikes per minute and has showed us on numerous occasions how physically tough he is. Remember, he had back-to-back fights where you could just basically take a baseball bat and just lit up this dude's legs over and over and over. Didn't care. He just ate the leg kicks and kept moving. This guy is insanely tough. He's coming off that knockout win over Lucas Brzeski, where he still managed to have his leg chewed up, but he showcased huge power. Fun fact, Waldo, myself, and Jacob are all in a movie together. And that's not an exaggeration. It's not an embellishment. We are all in a movie together. That movie comes out this spring and is called The Burden of 9 Lives. That'll be out shortly. Honestly, watch it and let them know you watch it because of me and Jakey boy. Anyway, the pick, it's Waldo. I basically said it 8 times. It was very clear it was going to be Waldo. I'm positive Andrei is going to be the more actual skilled fighter here. He's definitely the better fighter. But he's old. His chin's not there anymore. He's slowing down a bit. He's going to get knocked out. Waldo's going to knock him out. Waldo's improving at an incredible pace. He showed us that he does have power. Waldo's the pick. If you don't like his money line value right now, then just wait till the props drop and do Waldo inside the distance, and hopefully you'll get a few points there, a little bit better odds. This is that movie. It's called The Burden of 9 Lives. A very huge thank you from Jacob and I to Vega Montanez. He's the one who reached out and said, I love the show. I'd love to have you in our movie. So, of course, we said, what are we, idiots? Of course we said yes. So, check this out. When we have, more official dates and all that, we'll link all the things. The trailer is out now. Show some love for the independent filmmakers of the world, especially the ones that take care of your boys. And here's another premium plug for you. Safety Parlay Wild Success. When I tell you I'm proud of this, I'm proud of a few things in my life. I'm proud of the life I've built. I'm proud of my family. I love my wife. I love my 2 daughters. And I am proud of this freaking Safety Parlay. This thing hits at almost a 71% event accuracy. Good luck finding anybody else who has a 71% event accuracy betting on MMA. It is an almost impossible feat, and I have managed to climb that mountain. I have hit 6 of the last 7 parlays that I put on the board. I average 1.79 units of monthly profit. This is not everything I do. This is only the Safety Parlay. We are breaking down UFC Vegas 84 weeks before the event. The Safety Parlay will be up, and I can almost promise you, I can't predict line movement, but I can almost promise you the value you're going to get today is better than the value you're going to get 3 weeks from now when the event actually happens. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. You will unlock the Safety Parlay. You'll unlock everything else. And frankly, it's just a way to support us and everything that we do. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It is only $10 a month. Let's break down the main card. Opening up the main card for UFC Vegas 84, we have Jim Miller taking on Gabriel Benítez. Jim Miller's 40. Not quite the 45 that Andrei Arlovski is, but he is still 40. And he fought at UFC 100, he fought at UFC 200, and Dana already said he'll fight at UFC 300, which is a bit presumptuous because he has to get through Gabriel Benítez. Even if he loses, they'll put him on UFC 300, but let's hope he doesn't lose real bad like Bryce Mitchell and then end up suspended for 11 years. Jim Miller's a legend. He has a whole bunch of UFC records for longevity. Most fight minutes, most fights, all that stuff. He's so many records when it comes to that stuff. He's a good grappler. He's got clean boxing, decent wrestling. He's got all the veteran savvy, the toughness, the grit you could ever want from any fighter. He is definitely showing his age, but he continues to defy his age inside the octagon, most recently with an under 30-second knockout win over Jesse Butler this past summer. Is Jesse Butler good? No. Is Jim Miller 40, still knocking people out, even though he's a grappler? Yes. He's taking on Gabriel Benítez. This guy's a pretty good kickboxer. Specifically, his kicks are phenomenal. He's got solid movement. He picks his shots well. He's got very real power in his hands. His takedown defense sits at 58%. His takedown offense is at 50%. And while he does have some grappling tools, he does have some solid BJJ, he doesn't use any of it. He only has 2 takedowns in 13 fights, and he has fallen in love with chasing the knockout. He's coming off a win over Charlie Ontiveros a little over a year ago. It's impossible to break down Jim Miller fights at this point. He's old as hell. He's slowing down. But he somehow discovered power later in his career. He wasn't knocking anybody out 5 years ago. Now he's knocking people out. He's always been Jersey tough. He's taking on Gabriel. This guy's dangerous as hell, but he gets finished. I'm going to take the older, tougher vet here. versus the kill or be killed kind of guy in Gabriel, coming off a year layoff. Gabriel hasn't fought in a year. I do wish Jim had better takedowns so I could be confident enough to bet on him, but I'm still going to pick him. I hope he gets through this unscathed, win or lose, because I would love to see him on UFC 300. That's incredible. I don't think we'll ever see another fighter ever again fight on 3 different milestone cards like that. Think about fighting at UFC 100, 200, and 300. I don't have the stats in front of me, but even if his UFC debut, which it was not, but even if his UFC debut was at UFC 100, to get through 100 events, there's 52 weeks a year. There's only 12 months in a year. We basically get 1 pay-per-view a month. Let's say 13 a year. This math is going to be real tricky. Either way, that is a lot of years between UFC 100 and 200. And then a lot of years between UFC 200 and 300. And the fact that Jim Miller is still here, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a knockout win. And he's not a guy that debuted when he was 16. Absolutely incredible. All the love for Jim Miller. I'm not going to bet on him, though. He's still 40. Then we have Phil Hawes taking on Bruno Ferreira. I mean, freaking Phil Hawes, dude. Freaking Phil Hawes. The most talented guy in the division. I'm going to stick to that. He's fast. He's powerful. He's athletic. He's a national wrestling either champion or All-American. He has got all the tools. His striking is clean. His striking is crisp. He has all the tools. This guy in the gym, I guarantee he's the best training partner in that gym. I can guarantee he's the most talented guy in that gym. I guarantee if you watch practice, you'll be like, that's a world champion right there. Problem is he's got no chin. The chin is his biggest issue. Outside of his chin, we've seen him outstrike very good strikers. We've seen him out-wrestle very good fighters. We've seen him stay tough. We've seen him, I don't know if we've seen him losing a fight before the chin gave out. Even the fight with, Roman Dolidze, I got to watch that one back, but he had a slick duck under, took that dude down real quick. I think the knee bar was the issue there, but fine. Roman Dolidze. Okay. Outside of that, Phil Hawes comes forward, has incredible striking, but no chin. He looked insanely good in his last fight against Ikram Aliskerov. Looked great. And then he got knocked out because he has no chin. But skill for skill, talent for talent, technique for technique, Phil Hawes is unbelievable. He's taking on Bruno Ferreira. This guy's a powerful striker. As soon as you say powerful, you're like, well, that guy wins. What are we doing here? Look at powerful, done, wins. This is a little more complicated than that. But Bruno's powerful. He's light on his feet. He's constantly making up attacks. He bounces on his toes. That helps him move in and out of the pocket. He works in spinning techniques. He's got all finishes on the record. Even though he's fast and a powerful striker with finishes, he's not necessarily reckless. He can be even low volume at times, just waiting for spots. He can grapple as well. He's got some good takedowns, slick BJJ, but he's definitely a striker. He only uses his grappling if he's in some trouble or if his opponent's initiated. He's coming off that finished loss to Nursultan Ruzabuyev, where he was taken down for the first time in his UFC career. The problem is Phil Hawes has no chin. That is the problem. That is absolutely the problem. It's frustrating because he's so good. He's fighting a guy with huge power in Bruno, and that does have to be a factor here. But I'm still going to ride with Phil. One final time. I know he can get knocked out. Honestly, I'm almost positive he does get knocked out. This pick is probably dead wrong. I should not pick Phil Hawes, but I can't pick against the guy. He is so good. We've never even seen him quit. Yes, he's getting knocked out, but he's not quitting. That's his body quitting on him. That's not his choice. So for one final time, I'm going to pick Phil Hawes. He opened as a dog. He flipped to a favorite, so I'm not the only person feeling the love here. Hopefully he flips back because Phil Hawes has all the power, all the wrestling, all the technique. He's got everything he needs to beat Bruno Ferreira. Hopefully he just goes all in on the wrestling and smokes this dude. Hopefully that's what happens. But if he's going to stick around for a striking match, Phil Hawes is going to be knocked out. Just no two ways about it. Then we have Ketlin Vieira taking on Macy Chasson. Ketlin Vieira is a powerful striker. She's going to come forward. She's got good takedowns and top work as well. She marches forward, throws heavy. She looks to tie you up, and then she's going to trip or Uchimata from there. She does keep control. She pressures. She pounds away. She's not incredibly fast. She's not incredibly athletic, but she is big as hell, strong, and fundamentally sound. She's coming off that decision win over Pani Khanzad, where she threw very few strikes, but she did control the wrestling. She's taking on Macy Chasson. She's tall as hell for this weight class. She is long, and she uses that length really well to jab you up, work her Muay Thai striking. She has a positive striking differential and okay power. If you get past her length, you can have some success staying in her face. But when she can keep distance, she is technical, and she does that well. She has added grappling to her game plan, which is an entirely new wrinkle. She took down Norma Dumont 6 times in that win, and Irene Aldana 3 times in her most recent loss. Ketlin is almost a 3-1 favorite right now. And while I do think her skill set warrants that line, meaning we've seen fighters like Patty, for example, that are massive favorites, and it's like this person doesn't have the skills to be that big of a favorite. That's not the case here. Ketlin Vieira has the skills to be a 3-1 favorite over a lot of people. I do think that Macy is much better than people give her credit for, though. Her win over Norma was great. And she was 1-1 taking on Aldana, right? 1 round each before she did get upkicked and she was put out. But Irene Aldana, we just saw what a dog she was, and Macy Chiasson took a round off of her. The problem for a lot of people here is they're going to see Ketlin, they're going to assume that Macy sucks. And I do think Ketlin wins. She is big. She is tough enough to close the distance without taking too much damage. But I would be very careful jumping to conclusions here, throwing Ketlin Vieira in some parlays, because Macy has ruined parlays in the past, and Macy is much, much better than people give her credit for. Ketlin's going to be the pick. She's also big. She's tough. I think she can just close the distance, work Macy against the cage, take her down, and the length won't matter. But if Macy stays long, stays out of range, she could absolutely win this fight. Ketlin's going to be the pick. Then we have Ricky Simone. It's not Simon. Should be Simon. There's no tilde. Should be Simon, but it's Simone taking on Mario Batista. This is a great fight. I mentioned earlier. Good card. Some of these fights have title implications, ranking implications. This is one of those fights. Ricky Simone's a high-energy wrestling beast. This guy will dive on legs one after another. I mean, that doesn't make a ton of sense because you have 2 legs, whatever. But you get my point. He's going to shoot takedown, shoot takedown, shoot takedown over and over and over until he gets a takedown and potentially even a submission. His biggest asset is definitely his gas tank, his willingness to stick to a plan. He's not a technical striker, but he does have striking. It is there to set up his takedowns. He was able to showcase some power in the past against a Sun Tzu and even Jack Shore. He's coming off that main event loss to Song Yadong this spring, where he did have 2 takedowns, but the striking was just entirely too much. He's taking on Mario Batista. This guy is a high-volume, get-one-to-give-one style striker. He sets a pace. He's always plodding forward and being light on his feet. He's constantly moving, and then he plants those feet and he lets his hands fly. He has been steadily evolving in his last few fights with 5 wins in a row and 12 takedowns. He's coming off the close win over Damon Blackshear, where he landed fewer strikes and had fewer takedowns. Mario's a fun guy. He's an exciting guy, but I don't think he has the takedown defense to hang with Simon. I think Simone. I'm so sorry. With Simone. I see Ricky getting takedown after takedown. I see him suffocating Mario. The concern, obviously, is that Ricky has had issues in the past with high-volume strikers, but most of them had better takedown defense than Mario does. Don't come at me in the comment section about Rob Font. Rob Font used to have good takedown defense. That has just disappeared. Anyway, Ricky's going to be the pick, and I do have a full unit bet on him at minus 144. And I'm going to have 3 weeks to stare at that bet and tell myself it was great or awful. We'll see what happens. But I think Ricky's just, that wrestling pace and pressure is going to be a little bit too much for a guy like Mario who's not used to that happening. Then we have the co-main of the evening. Mateusz Nicolau taking on Manel Kape. This is a rematch. Mateusz won the first fight. It's a rematch. Manel is now the favorite in the rematch. Let's talk about why. Mateusz Nicolau is a very good, clean striker. He's incredibly technical. He's also a competent grappler as well, with 10 takedowns in his 8 UFC wins. 2 of those were against Manel Kape. He took down Manel Kape 2 times in their first fight. When he gets you to the ground, he's going to stick with control. He's going to work towards a submission when it presents itself, and he's going to do that instead of just chasing wild and looking for something. He's going to take his time, slow you down, and look for something. He has precise striking and precise grappling. He just snapped a 6-fight win streak with an early knockout loss to Brandon Royval. He's taking on Manel Kape. This guy is fast, explosive. He's a striker who has no issues chasing knockouts. He's a southpaw with good pressure, and he bounces in and out of range really well. He's a decent wrestler when he needs to be, and he closes distance well when he wants to. He's very fun to watch, but at times he is having too much fun, and he makes fight IQ mistakes. He's coming off that decision win over Felipe dos Santos, where he had the better striking, a knockdown, and a takedown. I mentioned this is a rematch. Manel lost that first fight. It was almost 3 years ago. Since then, Manel has won 4 in a row. and Nikolas had won 3 in a row before he just lost to Brandon Royval. Manel is a 2-1 favorite in this rematch, and I get that the original fight was close and that Manel was winning some of those striking exchanges, but he was also taken down twice. And he gave up half a round of control time. I do think that Kopp has evolved more than Nikolas has in the last 3 years, but he still can get taken down. Kopp's going to be the pick here because it was clear that the striking was better in the first fight. And now we know Nikolas' chin can be touched. The dude was just put out. It's compromised. But I think this line is wide. I don't know why he's a 2-1 favorite in a rematch where he lost. Nikolas could just come forward with a very heavy wrestling game plan and exploit those holes. I have 3 weeks to think about this. I might flip my pick. Right now it is Kopp. But we've seen Matthaus execute wrestling pretty well. So let me know in the comments. This is the hardest pick I've made on this card. And again, I might flip this pick. If you're watching this video on January 10, 11, 12, 13, there's a newer video and this pick might have changed. Then we have the main event of the evening. This is also a rematch. We have Magomed Ankalaev taking on Johnny Walker. This is a rematch from earlier this year, a couple months ago, where an accidental knees caused a no contest a few minutes into the first round. We didn't get to see much, but Ankalaev did squeeze out a takedown, and Johnny did look like his old fun chance-taking stealth instead of like a gun-shy technical striker that the SBG Ireland gym was trying to turn him into. Magomed Ankalaev is a long kickboxer. He uses range well. He has devastating kicks. He has power in both hands and his feet. He's a very versatile guy in his attack style. He's got good striking defense, but he can be low volume. If he gets in trouble striking, he does have wrestling as a backup plan. He's averaging about 1 takedown per 15 minutes. He has 1 single loss in his career that was a literal last-second submission loss to Paul Craig in his UFC debut where he was dominating that fight. He's not the most exciting fighter, but he is very, very good and could potentially be the champion at some point in 2024. He's taking on Johnny Walker. This guy's massive at 6'6". 6'6". And he's like thick. He's built. He's athletic. He's fast. He's all of those things. He's powerful. He's wild. He's fun to watch. He gets very creative with his striking. He's going to spin. He's going to jump. He's going to smile the whole time. He is very unorthodox and very dangerous because all of his crazy striking techniques have legit power behind them. He did have a little patch there where he was struggling. Late 2021, early 2022, he went to Conor McGregor's gym. They tried to turn him into a technical striker. That is not who Johnny Walker is. It does seem that he has found his own lately. He's having some fun, having some success. He was riding a 3-fight win streak before the no contest with Magomed Ankalaev. Ankalaev is coming off back-to-back fights without an outcome, or without a winner. He had the draw with Jan Blachowicz, the no contest here. Magomed Ankalaev hasn't won a fight in a very long time. Not necessarily his fault, but I still fully believe that skill for skill, Ankalaev is one of the better light heavyweights on the planet. We only saw a few minutes of their last fight, and I don't think much is going to be different. While I am one of the very few people who thought Johnny Walker actually looked good in their first fight for the couple of minutes that were there, I still think Ankalaev's pressure, the takedown, I think all that's going to be entirely too much. I think Ankalaev closes the distance. He's going to grapple early, and I think he wins this fight. Not to mention, Johnny Walker has some weird personal stuff going on, DMing underage girls pictures of his Picheline. I don't know what that's about. And that didn't get a lot of publicity, but that was a thing. And it may be affecting him mentally. I don't know. He may pull an Ian Gary and just magically get sick right before fight night. Either way, pretty confident in Magomed Ankalaev to win this fight, as are the bookies. He's a good size favorite. That's the breakdown, guys. But don't forget about the giveaway. We will give you $1,000. It is free to enter. The only thing you need to do is click subscribe to 2 different channels and comment on the giveaway video. The first condition has already been done. We want Picks hit 20,000 subscribers and a sincere thank you to you. The only other thing that needs to happen for me to give away this money is Picks Nation to hit 10,000 subscribers. That's a very easy thing. 20,000 on one channel. If half of them click the subscribe button on the other channel, we get to that goal. Hit subscribe on both of those channels. Comment on the giveaway video. I'll give you $500. If you happen to be a premium member, I will double it and give you $1,000. Premium membership gets you everything you have ever needed. You're going to unlock the detailed data, metrics, and analytics. This is for UFC Vegas 84. These will be up in the next day or two. For you. So you have 3 weeks to do your research and dive in. You're going to get the line movement tracker, opening odds, current odds, win probability, and line movement for every single fighter on every single card. You're going to get more than just me. MMA Minute, Running Mouth MMA, giving you picks, bets, round line leans. You're going to get Artem breaking down far more than just UFC during this 3-week break. There are other promotions putting up fights. I promise you, Artem will have picks and bets and stuff like that for those other promotions. Check out his page. And you're going to get the Pick Doctor, who developed an AI picking fights based solely off of data. All of this is only freaking $10 a month. And I am here 3 weeks early, breaking down a card, giving you picks, bets, insight, while everybody else is sleeping, enjoying the break. There are no breaks here. You give me $10, I take that $10 and I work my ass off. Unlock everything you need. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top.